Hi guys, it's the Forge Circuit here, and today we are going to be doing a Q&A session with Bobby Skullface. We're going to be just asking questions and just general chit chat, you know. What is your thoughts on the Spartan aka Impactor figure from Mastermind Creations, and what company do you think can make a more IDW accurate whirl?
Well, at this point I've reviewed him, so I like that figure a fair bit. And I think I'd rather see MMC stick with the IDW stuff and the Masterpiece stuff. Like, I don't know, Make Toys is doing a good job too, though. So between Make Toys and MMC is who I like to see tackle Whirl, and we all need an IDW Whirl.
Who would win in a fight, Skullface or Dr. Francis? And will we ever actually see this heated, you know, fisticuffs in a therapy session?
I think that would depend on who you ask. But he's not really, you know, Dr. Francis is not really of a fighter. He's a philosophical guy, you know, so I'm not sure if he want to actually come to fisticuffs. But, you know, philosophical guys, sometimes they know some top secret kung fu type jujitsu stuff, so I don't know. I don't back down from nothing, though, I'll tell you that.
So, Bobby, how long have you been the voice within the TF fandom? And by that I mean, how long has it been since you started contributing mentally and overall having been supporting the fandom? If your intentions have been to support in any way, including currently being the voice of the people, that is a really long question.
I guess 3.5 years now. I was on a podcast, GMC, and then I that's how I kind of got brought into it, and people kind of liked my opinion, so I ended up doing the reviews in January of 2014. But that's really what I would consider to be like my stepping off the plank moment would be January 1, 2014. So coming up on 2 years, and it's been good. It's been fun. I don't see me stopping anytime soon.
How many Transformers have you broken, and which ones?
Geez, as an adult or as a kid? I don't know. I broke Ollie. His wheel fell off. As a kid, I broke Megatron. I didn't really break that much stuff as a kid because my dad was funny about, you know, respecting your things, you know, rightfully so. But I did break a few. I don't know if I can think of any off the top of my head. I broke Hook 2 or 3 times, but I think we all did that. Just recently, I broke iGear's Ratchet. He took a shelf dive from one of the high-up shelves, and he had a T-jointed ball peg that came out of the pelvis, and it snapped right off. So that's been my most recent one. It's always a bummer when you break some.
Ever thought about getting the Mezco 1.12 collective The Dark Knight Returns Batman? And would love to know what you think. I don't own it, but this person does, and they want to know.
No, and it's not because I don't think it looks good. It's because I'm just not into fabric toys. A buddy of mine, JR, just recently made a joke about it. He was like, you know why I don't do fabric toys? Because I like to dust my stuff every once in a while, and I don't want to have to take off his little outfit and put it on a tiny little hanger and take the tiny hanger to the dry cleaners and have them look at me weird, and then when I go to pick it up, I got to pick up the tiny little hanger. So it's not for me. I think it looks cool, but it's not for me. I like sculpts and molds. I'm not a big fan of fabric toys.
In most of your early reviews, it sounded like TF Source was your e-tailer of choice. It sounded also like they have let you down one too many times in the past half a year or so. If you've left TF Source, who is your new e-tailer of choice?
My retailer of choice. So I use 2 main retailers. I use 215 Toys with a Z, just because of their prices, and I use Big Bad Toy Store. And the reason why I use Big Bad Toy Store is only because of the cancellation process is so easy and painless. So that's who I use. I use those two. I've had a chance to meet Hung to Go, and I had a chance to meet him at TFCon, and we talked a good bit, and you know, like I like the guy, and so I try to use him when I can, but I'm also about speed, so sometimes I got to get stuff a little faster. So it all depends, but those are my top two choices.
What is your opinions on Beast Wars, and have you ever watched it and enjoyed it?
I have watched it. I think it was really well written, but I don't like it. I don't care for it. It's not for me. It's not Transformers to me. Like, it's something else. And I blame it for a lot of problems within the Transformer franchise. Like, and it's not necessarily its fault because it did a good job, but it's, you know, it opened the doors. In my opinion, Beast Wars changed the DNA of what Transformers is. And it's not that they did it poorly, but it opened the doors for anyone else to come along and do it poorly. So I kind of have like a bit of an issue with Beast Wars, but I respect it. I know it's well written, and I appreciate it, but I don't have any interest in it whatsoever. And I think that without it, we would have done a lot better. And the reason why I say that, I know people get emotional about Beast Wars, is because like it just made it okay to change the dynamics of what makes Transformers Transformers. Like, a lot of other franchises don't do that. You know, like if you look at other successful franchises, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Batman, Superman, Marvel Comics, like stuff like that. Like they'll go through small changes for a time, but at the end of the day, it's always Bruce Wayne. His parents were always killed. He always, you know, defends the city as a result of it. When you start changing what it is, it makes the connection, I think, weaker. So my connection is strong, but it's only strong to a certain segment of what that franchise is. If you think about Transformers in the huge scope of what it is, I'm only a fan of like 8% of it, 10% of it maybe. You know, like I don't like the movie stuff. Prime is okay. I don't like the Transformers animated. I don't like Cybertron, Energon, Armada. I don't like Beast Wars. I don't like Beast Machines. I don't like RID. I don't, you know, I don't like a fair amount of the comics. I don't like it, you know? I like IDWs more than meets the eye. That's pretty much the only thing that I read. And G1, and then the War for Cybertron, Fall of Cybertron games. And that's it. So, you know, my connection is strong to that, but that's just a small portion of that franchise. And I think that Beast Wars is responsible for that kind of change happening.
What are Transformers toys that you like, that people hate, dislike, are unimpressed by, and don't think high of? And vice versa. What are Transformers toys that you hate, dislike, unimpressed by, and don't think high of, but people like?
I love Warbitron's Bruticus. And a lot of people have problems with it. I mean, I recognize the problems that it has, but at the end of the day, it doesn't fall short to me. Like, I think it's still a massive undertaking and pretty impressive. But you know, the people have complaints with it, and they'll allow those complaints to really hinder how they view the figure. I love that guy, so that would definitely be one. And then I hate like a lot of, you know, the Generations and Combiner Wars stuff, and you know, a lot of people seem to like that. So that's more or less the lines. A lot of times I feel like people, you know, people's views and mine kind of coincide more than they differ. So I don't have to run into this problem very often. But I also prefer Hercules over Giant. And it's not that I don't love Giant. Giant's good, but I just prefer Hercules over Giant. I know that's not the popular, you know, that's not the popular opinion. So there's little things like that, but I don't think there's anything too like extreme where I love something and people hate it, and people hate something and I love it. The Tetra Jets, that would be one. The Impossible Toys Tetra Jets. Now I admit they're shit. They're garbage. You should never buy them. But I've always wanted to set a G1, episode 1 of G1 line of Tetra Jets, and now I have them, so I'm completely happy with them. But I'm happy with them, and everybody else hates them. And that's, I get it, I understand it, and I agree that they suck. I'm just happy with them.
What is your favourite combiner of all time, and who do you think will pull it best? What company?
My favorite combiner of all time is Menasor, and the company that I would love to see pull it off would be Probably Warbitron, but not this like Warbitron spin-off company. Like I don't want it. I'm gonna get it, but I don't want an IDW style Minosaur. I want like a more G1. I'm okay with like as much as Bruticus is G1. I want a Minosaur that is that much. Like Warbitron's Bruticus is an updated G1. I want that kind of aesthetic, but a Minosaur, and I'd love to see Warbitron do it.
What MP figure would you love to be made?
I would love to see an official, Masterpiece ain't what it used to be, but in a perfect world, I would love to see a Masterpiece Devastator, like a straight up Masterpiece Devastator. I think that would be something to behold.
There is a rumor of the new Beast Wars Transformer. What do you think about it?
I haven't heard the rumor, so good for Beast Wars fans. And good for my wallet because I won't be behind it.
If a third party made a Masterpiece Leader 1, would you buy it or pass on it?
I'd probably buy it. As much as I'd like to say that I wouldn't, I probably would. I hope it'd be good. Because if it sucked and it was a GoBot and it was a Masterpiece, that would really hurt. But I'd probably get it. I would get like the main 6. Leader 1, Turbo, Scooter, Psykill, Coptor, and Crasher. And then I'd be done. Just the 6.
Oh man, I'd buy a Leader 1. No, I wouldn't. That's Leader 1. Given the quality of figures that companies like SHF and PAK are producing these days, wouldn't it make more sense for Hashtag to outsource their creative production teams to increase their revenue?
Absolutely. I've been saying this forever. Like, Hasbro should be licensing out Transformers as transforming products. A lot of these other franchises, they don't have third-party problems. And the reason why they don't have third-party problems is because they're appealing via licensing to every demographic in terms of collectors. You can get a Batman for $1. You can get a Batman for $5,000. So depending on what level you are in the game, there's something for you. And it's the same thing with Marvel stuff. It's the same thing with Star Wars. Like, it's the same thing with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But for some reason, that Transformers, they just do not want to let that thing out of the gate. And as a result, they have a huge third-party problem. So absolutely.
Is there any anticipation from you for the up-and-coming Star Wars toys that will reveal the SDCC?
In regard to the Star Wars stuff, I'm not sure exactly of which you're speaking, but like the Black Series stuff, like I've looked at a lot of that, and that's pretty good for the most part. And the 3 3/4 stuff, I can't believe that they let that articulation go just to 5-point. It's just so cheap. I have a feeling that they'll make better articulated ones in the future, so I'm gonna wait for those. And I'm all over those SH Figuarts ones, buddy. Like I'm all in. I've jumped down a rabbit hole with that one.
What was the most difficult and frustrating review you have ever done?
I don't know. There's been a few, like Hotspot. TFC's Hotspot was one. That was a pain. I can't remember whether it was getting it into Defensor mode or whether it was just the figure, but that was a pain. Apollyon, that was a pain. I'll tell you the TFC Predaking was a pain, just kind of getting everything to stick together to finish it. And there's the same thing with Combiner Wars Menosaur. Like, that was a pain just because it kept falling apart, wanting to fall down as I was putting it together. It's just poorly made. So it's stuff like that. And a lot of times funny skits and stuff come out of that, so it all pays off. But yeah, definitely those.
Will you update the mask to something of your own design?
Probably not. It's kind of become a staple now. Like, so probably not. Because like the thing is like, it's the fact that it's not menacing looking. It's kind of goofy. That I think that's what makes it kind of work.
If you could prank call anyone, real or made up, dead or alive, who would it be and what would you say to them?
I think I'd prank call Keith from KFC and pretend I was the lawyers that were responsible for the intellectual property of Colonel Sanders KFC and act like I was making some sort of legal threat. I think that's what I would do.
What do you think about the quality of third-party transforming bots versus their price? With all the quality control as well as availability issues, do you really think the toys, the combiners especially, really warrant the hefty price tag?
I think this is going to surprise some people, but I think it's honestly, I think it's a steal for the most part. I mean, the quality just the materials of these figures, and then the fact that they have all the engineering put into them, it's pretty outstanding. When you think about like Chijokin figures and stuff like that, you know, to get it in America, you're looking at, you know, $50 to $80 a figure, and that's from Bandai, you know, which is a fairly significant company. I think paying $80 to $100 for a figure that also transforms, I think is kind of a steal. You know, like, I mean, that doesn't mean that they can make sloppy mistakes and not be called out for it. Don't get me wrong. Like, they need to be, you know, it's a substantial amount of money, so the the flaws need to be pointed out. But I think that overall, what you're getting at the cost that you're getting it, it's fairly reasonable.
Who or is your least favourite Decepticon?
As a kid, I hated Starscream, mainly because he was disloyal. Being disloyal is not a trait that I favor. So yeah, I'd have to say that the Starscream as a kid. Now, as I've gotten older, I've learned to appreciate the role that he plays. So maybe I would say, I don't know, most Decepticons are pretty cool, but maybe Octane. You know, he's kind of wishy-washy. You know, same kind of loyalty issues. So yeah, I'd probably go with him.
No one has a least favourite Decepticon because they're all awesome.